Good morning, Newday. For those of you who I may not have met yet, my name is Gwen Loney, and I am the Next Gen Student Intern Pastor here at Newday. This week we're launching something incredible. I actually see a lot of you on the front row. I'd like to invite any Next Gen students who may not be up here yet to join us in our Next Gen Front Row Club. For those of you who may not understand why we're doing this or what this is, we created this space to keep Next Gen engaged and present in the sermon during our worship experience. So for any Next Gen who would like to join me up front with my Next Gen front row, our ambassadors will be there to greet you. Today we'll be continuing our series on Activate, which is all about finding your place in the mission of God. What I want you guys to understand today is that each of you can play a role in helping Next Gen who would like understand that they can find their place right now and not later. To demonstrate that need, I'd like us to do a quick activity. How many of you have ever heard of a Kahoot? Okay, so a fair amount. For those of you who haven't heard, no worries. Everyone pull out your phone and go to kahoot.it. The first 100 people in the lobby get to play. So, be quick. I'll explain the few simple rules of this online quiz while you're working with that. So Kahoots are very popular for students who are like studying for quizzes or tests. My friends and I play it in history class all the time, and we get like really, really competitive. It's probably bad. But it's a fun way of remembering things and learning it. So basically, what you'll see up here on the screen is 4 colors. And it'll have a question. Yeah, okay. So there you can put the code in. So you'll see a question, and it'll display 4 colors. And in those 4 colors, there will be possible answers for the question. So after giving you a few seconds to read the question, on your phone, you'll see the matching 4 colors. You'll need to choose the color that you think has the best answer on the screen, and then click the matching corresponding color on your phone. Okay. There will be only one color that's correct, except for the first and the last question. Those have multiple answers that are correct. Okay, everyone got it? Give me a thumbs up. All right. I'll give you a few more seconds to get in before I start. These are some fun names. Oh, I like Jolly Lizard. I'm cheering for Jolly Lizard. All right. 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's start, Joey. All right, so the first question is just a test question. It's going to ask you, what's your favorite color? And there's no right or wrong answer. Oh, wow. Blue is popular. All right. Let's go to the next. Let's see who's on the leaderboard. The lively glider. Good job. So basically, the leaderboard is decided by how fast and how correctly you answer. So, just to know for the next 2 questions that matter. All right, Joey, let's hit next. At age 17, what percentage of teenagers that grew up in the church reported that they were still regularly attending? Wow. Wow. To the 8 of you that got that correct, good job. Okay, let's go to the next question. It's lively, oh, okay, silver bat. Okay, next question. At age 20, what percentage of those teenagers reported that they were still attending? Good job. Wow. I'm surprised you guys knew that. Honestly, when I looked that up, I was really surprised by how low it was. But hey, you guys are doing good. All right, last question. This is going to be the other one that is not, or no wrong answer. Do you know someone who left the church between the ages of 17 to 20? See, to me, that number is staggering because when I was doing this and we were making these questions, my dad was like, if there's more no's than yeses, you're going to have to call them out for being liars. So I'm glad you guys are honest. Yeah, a lot of us have had or known someone who's left the church between the ages of 17 to 20. Okay, let's see who won. So if we go to next, okay, number third, yell if you're the lucky aunt. Oh. Maybe online. Okay. Speedy Alpaca. Good job. And the silver bat. Good job. Everyone give it up. Okay. Thanks for participating in that activity with me. So an article that Adventist Review put out a few months ago, it says that many teenagers describe their relationship with God like this. No. Next slide. Sorry. Okay. As leaving the church, but not the faith. So as teenagers get more increased independence, such as a driver's license or a job, or maybe they go off to college, we see a dramatic drop for how many teenagers who are regularly attended when they were kids left the church. So why did they leave? So 96% of teenagers said life changes prevented them from attending. So that could include moving to college or work responsibilities, or like I mentioned before, a driver's license. 73% said church or pastor-related reasons led them to leave. Of those, 32% said church members seemed judgmental or hypocritical, and the other 29% said they just did not feel connected. 63% said student and youth ministry reasons contributed to them leaving. Of those, 23% said they never connected with the students in their group, and the rest said the students were judgmental and hypocritical, and I just didn't like it there. It seems pretty clear that this current generation does not feel connected to the older generation. Now, let's scratch that. So what if, in the next 5 years, churches show astonishing studies of youth-related attendance growing past anyone's expectations? What if youth felt like they had a purpose in the church? What if they knew they had a physical space to feel safe on their own spiritual journey? And what if Newday was a part of that? Within all of these research and statistics on why youth are so rapidly leaving the church, some people do suggest some reasons why the remainder stayed connected with Christ. One study by Barna shows us 5 reasons why they might have stayed. So number 1, they had a spiritual experience a week in the church. Number 2, they were entrusted with responsibility in ministry at a young age. Number 3, they served with their family in a church ministry. Number 4, they had at least one faith-focused adult in their life other than their parents. And number 5, they were equipped, not entertained. So let's turn to 1 Samuel chapter 1. So for those of you who may not know or be super familiar with the story of Samuel, it's an Old Testament story about a prophet who was used by God to do amazing things. However, do we think Samuel would have been a prophet if all 5 of what those were did not hold true in his life? Probably not. So, 1 Samuel 3:10, it says, "The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other times, 'Samuel, Samuel.' Then Samuel said, 'Speak, for your servant is listening.'" Number 1, he had a spiritual experience in the church. Sound familiar? Okay, 1 Samuel 1:24. "She took the boy with her and brought him to the house of the Lord. Obviously, it was a little different back then because, they had this huge, long journey to make it to the temple. But Hannah was adamant that they kept that religion of, going to the temple every year. So you could see the involvement of the family in the church. Sound familiar? Number 2. Check. 1 Samuel 3:1. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare, and there were not many visions. So God made sure that Samuel was entrusted with ministry at a young age. God just didn't go around giving visions to anyone, but as we see later, he did Samuel. 1 Samuel 3:8-9. A third time, the Lord called Samuel, and Samuel got up, went to Eli, and said, "Here I am. You called me." So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Samuel was equipped to worship and work for the Lord, but he was not entertained. Having the Lord appear to me 3 times sounds pretty entertaining, but it was definitely a point that he made sure Samuel was equipped. 1 Samuel 3:15. Samuel lay down until morning and then opened the doors of the house of the Lord. He was afraid to tell Eli the vision, but Eli said, "Samuel, my son." Samuel had someone other than his parents in his life. Hannah gave Samuel to Eli to mentor him. Eli brought him up, and as we can see, he calls Samuel his son. Samuel was more of a son to Eli than Eli's actual sons were. We see that pretty obviously during the book of Samuel. As a teenager, I've had this amazing experience to be this student pastor. And every single one of these facts that this Barna study showed us is important. But when I was doing my research, one stood out to me. And it's mentorship. Mentorship is extremely important. I've seen it in my life, I've seen it in others. And here at Newday, we believe that it is something that anyone can do. My dad, we started going through this sermon. He was prepping me for some of the points that I was going to make. He told me to think about a few of the people at Newday who were going to hold me accountable when I left in a few years for college. And I realized I just couldn't choose 3 because there were so many that has made an impact in just my 3 years here at Newday. And so I want to shout out a few people. I want to shout out Pastor Molly. I mean, she's not here. She's at Union finishing her master's degree, which is pretty incredible. But she has made an impact in my life as a mentor to me. I'd like to shout out Miss Katrina Dean. Every time I see her, she literally walked into the church today, and I said, "Hey," and she said, "How are you doing?" And I was like, I'm feeling pretty nervous, honestly. I preached today. And she said, "Immediately, let me pray for you." And I don't think we realize how much of a difference that makes until you're in that situation and you need that. I'd like to shout out Pastor Mark Stoddard. He knows I've been preparing for the sermon, and every time he's seen me, he's asked me how it's going. "Hey, do you need anything from me? What can I do to help you?" I want to shout out any next gen leader. That can be Miss Carolyn, Miss Gina, Mr. Phil, Mr. Eric. You guys, you don't know how much of a difference you make through that lesson every week. And I'm not just talking about me because I've seen it in other people's lives as well. I like to shout out Jordy. He literally was hyping me up in the team room, in the green room. And it made me feel good. It made me feel confident. And you guys have done a fantastic job of holding me accountable. Showing up to my extracurriculars or sports games, or just doing what Miss Dean said, and saying, "Hey, can I pray for you?" every time you see me. And I wish that every next-gen on this front row could have people in their lives like I did. And they totally can. Maybe your calling is building that relationship with a teenager that isn't directly related to you. Maybe your place in the mission of God is to help youth realize that Christianity isn't shallow or boring or unrelatable. Maybe your activate is to create a space where next gen is the now, not the later.